Gemini, destiny protected you. Pain now knocks on the door of those who lost you. Have you ever felt like something invisible, yet unmistakably real, was guiding you away from harm, even when your heart didn't understand why? Maybe there were moments you were removed from someone without closure, or days when you questioned why certain people faded from your life without warning. And yet, as time passed, your heart started to feel lighter. Your thoughts became clearer. The chaos around you began to quiet down. That wasn't a coincidence. That was protection. Fate has been gently but firmly guiding you away from people who didn't deserve your energy. You may not have seen it at the time. In fact, you might have blamed yourself, asked what you did wrong, wondered why love always seemed just out of reach. But Gemini, the truth is, you were never being abandoned. You were being preserved. Spirit knew what you were too kind to see, who truly had your best interest at heart, and who only appeared to. This is not about blame. This is about understanding the deep justice that governs the spiritual world. Now, in a moment when you least expect it, something is shifting. You may feel it as a strange stillness in your chest, or a quiet confidence growing in your choices. Meanwhile, those who once took you for granted are beginning to feel the weight of what they let slip away. Not as punishment, but as the inevitable reflection of what happens when someone loses a soul as rare as yours. And you, Gemini, you're entering a new chapter, one written not by pain, but by power. If these words stir something in your spirit, I invite you to stay with me. Like this video if you feel seen. Subscribe if you're ready to receive more messages that speak to your evolution. And share your story in the comments. Your truth may be the mirror someone else needs to find their own strength. This is your time now. And the universe? It never left your side. Gate 1. Protected by the invisible. When the universe steps in for you, Gemini, you are often seen as the seeker, the communicator, the thinker, the one who navigates between worlds, minds, and emotions with graceful agility. But what many don't see is your quiet tenderness, your inner longing to be truly understood. You love with your words, your ideas, your laughter, and in the past, you gave all these treasures to someone who didn't know how to hold them. There was a time, not too long ago, when you questioned why a certain person drifted away, or why a relationship that once felt promising slowly dissolved without explanation. You replayed conversations, overanalyzed their silences, and wondered if you were the one who pushed them away. Your Gemini mind tried to make sense of it, but your soul, your deeper knowing, was already doing something far greater. It was protecting you. You see, destiny doesn't always arrive with grand gestures. Sometimes it works in whispers, in delays, in detours. And in your case, it worked quietly but powerfully, pulling you back just in time from someone who is not aligned with your spirit. They may have seemed perfect on paper, or perhaps they touched something deep within you that made you believe it was safe to open your world to them. But now, as you look back, isn't it clear? The conversations that began to feel one-sided, the way your laughter wasn't echoed with the same warmth, the subtle ways you began to feel small in their presence. At first, you thought it was just growing pains, miscommunication, timing. But no, those were signs. Signs that your energy was being taken, not treasured. Gemini, your heart was never the problem. Your light was never too much. It was simply too radiant for someone still lost in their own shadows. And so the universe did what you were too gentle to do. It removed you. Maybe it hurt at first. Maybe you clung to the idea that if you just loved better, explained more, stayed longer, things would change. But now, with time and distance, you can see what you couldn't then. That person was not meant to continue walking with you, not because they were bad, but because they weren't ready for someone like you. And here's the miracle, Gemini. While they continued to repeat their patterns with others, you evolved. You began to love yourself differently. You started paying attention to the things you used to overlook, like how drained you felt after certain conversations, or how often you apologized for simply being you. You stopped shrinking. You stopped chasing. And little by little, you began to rise. Destiny watched that transformation. And now, as you step into a new level of clarity, those old wounds no longer ache, they instruct. You see now that the space created by that person's absence became the sacred ground for your return to self. And ironically, while you were healing, they were unraveling. Not because you wished it, but because that is how universal law works. Energy always returns to its source. Those who devalue what is pure eventually experience the cost of that blindness. But you've been lifted. You may feel it already. Your dreams becoming clearer, your body more rested, your spirit less reactive. These are signs of alignment, indicators that your vibration is rising because your soul is no longer weighed down by relationships that ask you to abandon parts of yourself. And maybe, just maybe, you've stopped needing closure. Maybe you've realized that peace isn't found in someone else's apology. It's found in your own decision to stop reopening the wound. Gemini, you were not left behind. You were led forward. What you thought was rejection was actually redirection. What you thought was abandonment was divine preservation. And the person who once walked away, they didn't escape. They delayed their own healing. They distanced themselves from a connection that would have taught them what love truly means. Let them walk their path. Your only responsibility is to continue yours with grace, with clarity, and with a new reverence for the gift that is you. Gate 2, when the echo returns, the pain that finds those who let you go. Gemini, the universe has a quiet but perfect sense of timing. As you rise, someone else, perhaps long forgotten, is beginning to fall into a silence they never expected. A silence filled not with peace, but with echoes. Echoes of your voice, your presence, your laughter. At first, they didn't notice. They moved on, distracted by new connections, different faces, temporary validations. But the energy you carried with you that stayed. It lingered. It haunted. Because Gemini, you are not easy to forget. You are layered and alive. You give with your whole heart when you feel safe. You forgive when others would walk away. You see potential in people, even when they can't see it in themselves. And that was your beauty, but also your burden. Because the person who lost you, they didn't know what they were losing. They thought they could replace you. That your kindness, your humor, your emotional generosity was something ordinary. They believed that someone like you could be found again, easily, quickly, perhaps in someone more convenient. But now, as the months pass, they are realizing the gravity of their mistake. They are beginning to notice that no one sees them the way you did. That no one listens quite like you did. That no one forgives with the same grace. And while you may not hear from them directly, their soul is restless. Something inside them is unraveling. It's not karma in the way we often imagine, not a dramatic punishment, not public shame. No, it's something far more profound. It's the void. The hollow place left behind when someone chooses to walk away from love that was real. And now, the pain they once caused you has come home to them. It may look different, but it feels eerily similar. The feeling of being misunderstood, the coldness of someone turning away, the quiet ache of being unseen. They're being met with the same energy they once offered you, not because you wished for it, but because the universe is always in balance. Gemini, this is not your revenge. This is your release. Because the truth is, your healing never required them to hurt. Your healing began the moment you decided to stop blaming yourself. The moment you stopped over-explaining. The moment you finally whispered to yourself, I deserve better than this. And that moment changed everything. While you have been learning to sit with yourself in quiet love, they have been struggling to sit with their own guilt. While you have been rebuilding your sense of self, they have been slowly recognizing the enormity of what they gave up. While you have been learning to trust again, they have been looking around at every new connection, wondering why no one feels quite like you. And here's the moment of truth. They will try to return. They may appear in your dreams, in your inbox, through mutual friends. They'll offer apologies wrapped in uncertainty. They'll hint that they miss you, that they're different now, that they see things more clearly. But Gemini, clarity is not enough when it comes late. You've already crossed a threshold. You are not the same person they left behind. You've outgrown the version of yourself that waited for them to change. And now, what once felt like a longing feels like a closed door. Let yourself feel that power, not as pride, but as peace. You don't need to reject them with anger. You don't need to prove your worth anymore. You've already done that by living, healing, and thriving without them. Your very presence now speaks louder than any response you could give. And if part of you still aches, still wonders, why did they hurt me like that? Know this. They didn't hurt you because you weren't enough. They hurt you because they were too afraid to meet the depth you offered. And when someone cannot meet your soul, they will always choose what feels easier. But easier doesn't last. And now they know that too. So breathe deeply, Gemini. The pain that once belonged to you has returned to its source. And you? You are free. You are light. You are no longer carrying the sorrow that was never yours to begin with. Gate 3, Soul Level Love. The connection that's meant for the real you. Gemini, now that the noise has faded, do you notice what's emerging? Something softer, something deeper, something real. For the first time in a long while, love no longer feels like a chase or a puzzle to solve. It feels like a memory, one your soul has always carried, waiting for the moment when you would be whole enough to recognize it. And that moment is here. When you release the person who didn't see you, when you stopped trying to fix what was never yours to heal, when you chose peace over proving your worth, you unknowingly sent a signal to the universe. I'm ready for more. For real. For soul. And now, Gemini, something extraordinary is making its way toward you. Not just any love, but a soul-level connection. The kind that doesn't need performance, doesn't require translation, and certainly doesn't ask you to betray your own needs just to feel wanted. This new love, whether it arrives tomorrow or months from now, won't come wrapped in drama or confusion. It will arrive with calm, with presence, with clarity, because the old version of love, the one tied to adrenaline and approval, is no longer aligned with who you are becoming. You no longer crave validation. You crave resonance. You no longer tolerate inconsistency. You seek integrity. And above all, you no longer perform to be loved. You are loved because you are real. Let yourself imagine it, Gemini. A connection where your mind feels inspired and your heart feels safe. A bond where silence is comfortable and laughter comes easily. A love that grows with you, not one that demands you stay small to keep it intact. This person may not arrive loudly. In fact, they might show up so gently that at first, you don't recognize what's happening. But you'll feel it, in the steadiness of their presence, in the way their energy doesn't spike your anxiety, in the way they meet you eye to eye, soul to soul. They will not run from your questions or silence your depth. They will not fear your duality. The way you are both logic and emotion, storm and stillness. They will honor it because they, too, have done the work. They, too, have walked away from illusions. And when two people who have been broken by false love meet with healed hearts, the result is not just romance. It is reunion. But Gemini, even before this person appears, something even more sacred is unfolding. The reconnection with yourself. You are learning what it means to love your own company again. You're finding beauty in your own rhythm. You're no longer afraid of being alone because you are no longer abandoned by your own soul. This is the most magnetic energy you could ever embody. The universe responds not to desperation, but to alignment. And right now, your alignment is stunning. That's why opportunities are flowing more easily. That's why the wrong people are disappearing without effort. That's why the right people are drawn to you, not by force, but by frequency. So if you're wondering when this deep, soul-level love will arrive, the answer is, it's arriving in you first. It will show up outwardly when it fully blooms within. And when it does, when that mirrored soul stands before you, you'll recognize them not as a stranger, but as a reflection. Not because they complete you, but because they meet you. And that, dear Gemini, is the kind of love that lasts. Gate 4, you are no longer accessible to what once drained you. Gemini, something has shifted, not just in your mind, but in your frequency. You can feel it in the way your body reacts to certain people, in the way your nervous system settles around peace, but tenses around old patterns. You are no longer available for what once consumed you. And that is not ego. That is evolution. This new version of you, clearer, softer, stronger. is the result of everything you've survived. You didn't just heal, you transformed. And that transformation has recalibrated your energy to a higher frequency, one that only allows in what is true, gentle, and aligned. Gone are the days when you over-explained your worth. Gone are the nights when you replayed someone's silence, hoping it would turn into understanding. Gone is the version of you who thought love required sacrifice. Now, you're choosing differently. Not from bitterness, but from wisdom. The person who once hurt you, who couldn't meet your depth, may soon try to circle back. They'll feel the absence, not just of your presence, but of your warmth, your insight, your light. They may reach out with apologies, memories, even regret. And for a moment, your old self might flicker, might wonder, should I give them another chance? But then your body will answer for you. Your breath will shorten. Your intuition will tighten. Your soul will whisper, you already outgrew this. Gemini, this is the gate of energetic sovereignty. You are no longer here to be accessible to anything that diminishes your light. You are no longer emotionally available to confusion, inconsistency, or people who ask you to explain why you deserve tenderness. You are here to protect your space like it is sacred ground, because it is. Let your no be a full sentence. Let your boundaries be calm, but unshakable. You don't need to explain why someone no longer fits your life. Growth is the only explanation. And those who cannot rise with you are not meant to stay. You are not judging. You are discerning. There is a difference between being open and being unguarded, between being kind and being self-sacrificing, between giving chances and giving your power away. And you, Gemini, have learned that difference the hard way. So now, when life offers you a test, when the past knocks softly on your door, disguised as something harmless, you will smile gently and walk away. Not because you're angry, not because you want revenge, but because your peace is too precious to gamble. Your frequency now filters out what once got through. Your soul has become magnetic to what is meant and repellent to what isn't. This is what protection feels like from within. And what's beautiful is, you don't need to keep fighting to stay here. This is your new baseline. You've done the work. You've risen through pain. You've chosen yourself again and again. Now, your only task is to maintain your light. Keep choosing stillness over chaos. Keep choosing truth over performance. Keep choosing love that holds you, not tests you. Gemini, the world may not fully understand this new you, but your spirit does. And those who are meant for you, soul-aligned, whole, and ready, will recognize you not by your past, but by your vibration. And they'll meet you there. Conclusion: the peace after the storm, the power after the pain. Look at how far you've come. You began this journey wondering why certain people were removed from your life, why things didn't work out when you gave so much of yourself. You searched for answers in silence, tried to translate someone's absence into meaning, tried to heal in the shadows where no one could see how deeply it hurt. But now, standing on the other side of it all, you see with different eyes. Not just eyes that understand others more clearly, but eyes that finally see yourself. You were never the problem. You were the light they couldn't handle, the reflection they weren't ready to face, the depth they mistook for complexity. And yet, even as they walked away, even as you grieved, the universe never let go of your hand. Destiny was always watching, protecting, preserving. While they wandered, you woke up. While they clung to old patterns, you chose evolution. While they tried to replace you, you reclaimed yourself. This is not a story of revenge. This is a story of return to your own truth, your own wholeness, your own worth. And now, Gemini, the time has come to stop shrinking. You no longer have to explain your light. You no longer have to make yourself digestible for people who lack the appetite for authenticity. You no longer owe your energy to anything that costs you your peace. Let this be your moment of soft celebration. Not the loud kind, but the kind that lives in quiet confidence, in the still joy of knowing you've survived what tried to break you, and you've turned it into gold. You are now vibrating at a level that only the aligned can reach. So walk forward with trust. Trust in your timing. Trust in your heart. Trust that the right people will see you clearly the first time. And if this message has echoed through your spirit, if a part of you felt remembered, seen, or soothed, I invite you to stay connected. Like this video if it brought you peace. Share your reflections in the comments. Your story may be the turning point in someone else's journey. And subscribe to receive more guidance from the stars, the soul, and everything in between. This is your time, Gemini. You were protected for a reason. Now it's time to receive everything your soul has been waiting for.